Production of Still Holding On was made possible in part by a grant from the Alabama Humanities Foundation. Additional funding was provided by the Alabama State Council on the Arts.
We're very privileged to present Dorothy Love Coates and the original Gospel Harmonettes with I Won't Let Go of My Faith.
Just holding on. I'm just holding on. I'm just holding on. And I won't let go of my faith.
I made a commitment to the music, and because of knowing, no matter what people say, that it was God-given. You see, I owe God my life. And when they asked me to change and sing the rock and roll, Dot, you know you could be a good rock and roll artist. All you have to do is just change the lyrics. No, I didn't feel like he had brought me that far to sell him out.
As a singer and composer, Dorothy Love Coates helped revolutionize gospel music with her passionate delivery and poetic lyrics. As a member of the original Gospel Harmonettes, she made songs like I Won't Let Go of My Faith, That's Enough, You Must Be Born Again, and He's Right on Time, standards in many traditional black churches. An impressive array of musicians, from Johnny Cash, the Blackwood Brothers, to Ray Charles, have recorded her songs.
I'm writing about a changing condition, a changing world.
She just put life experiences to paper, and those always make the best music.
She is a brilliant, talented songwriter.
Dorothy Love Coates' voice has faded, but during the course of 5 decades, this remarkable musician from the Deep South wrote over 300 songs. She recorded 20 albums with the Harmonettes and her singers. Her spirit-filled music and appearance enhanced 3 major motion pictures. She wrote songs about life, hard times, good times, segregation in the South, and deliverance. Rolling Stone magazine called her one of the great writers of gospel's golden era, and a prominent British author labeled her poet, playwright, and political activist.
He put clapping in my head. Did he put shouting in my heart? Lord took doubting from my mind.
I'm sort of a hedge and highway singer.
I think Dorothy was influenced not by singers, but by preachers.
I think Dorothy Love Coates has influenced every aspect of gospel music.
She was incomparable. There was only one Dorothy Love Coates.
I'm holding on, and I won't let go of my faith. Oh, my long ago, I didn't know nothing about Jesus and his love.
The roots of Dorothy Love Coates and the original Gospel Harmonettes can be traced to an extraordinary blending of cultures that took place during the Great Black Migration. During the 1920s and 30s, millions of African Americans streamed out of the rural South and headed to the urban North in search of better jobs and living conditions. Ironically, a similar situation was happening in Jefferson County, Alabama, where the rapidly growing coal and iron industry attracted over 100,000 blacks. The migrants traded their segregated rural lifestyles for the slums and company quarters of Birmingham, Bessemer, and Fairfield. Life was better in some ways, but worse in other ways. Out of the despair, the workers formed quartets or jubilees for religious and social entertainment. The group's music often reflected their economic and political plight. They called themselves names like the famous Blue Jay singers, the Fairfield Four, the Bessemer Big Four, and the Four Great Wonders. The groups toured the country on weekends, spreading their unique style. Birmingham became one of the nation's most influential fortresses for community-based quartets.
Birmingham was an industrial center. Gospel coming out of Birmingham was a part of the urban Black experience. And so it was some of the most intense music that you could hear.
As rural Blacks migrated to the nation's urban centers with their religious and social customs, a new music evolved, a sound that contained elements of the quartets, hymns, Negro spirituals, jazz, and blues. This new style was energetic, emotional, and full of optimism.
Gospel music is Black people grounding ourselves in a new place with the blend of new sounds with some of the stuff that's old. And gospel, to understand it, you have to put together the line hymns, you have to put together the Pentecostal, or what we call the sanctified or holiness church, and you have to put together the spiritual, and then you have to put together the energy of the city. So you get, coming out of Birmingham, that part of our music tradition where Jubilee quartets, who sort of stayed calm and did the spiritual, sometimes with some rhythm, shifted into the stronger gospel quartet singing. And the gospel harmonettes actually blended that cool, sweet harmony in the background with that preaching lead that only Dorothy Love Coates could do.
As the nation struggled to recover from the Great Depression and readied itself for World War II, Black America's interest in gospel music flourished. Most communities supported several quartets or groups that sang on weekends, at church programs, and on radio. This turbulent and creative setting was the prelude to gospel's most popular years. In 1940, 5 young women in Birmingham decided to enter the crowded and competitive gospel music arena. They were inspired by the Roberta Martin singers at the 1940 National Baptist Convention held in Birmingham.
And we heard the Roberta Martin group sang "It's a Highway to Heaven." And that just lifted me. I just exploded.
And I told her, I said, "Oh, Dessa, you know what? We need to get us a group."
I said, "Well, Mildred, I can't play, like the gospels. Like they Ooh, I said, they're terrible on the piano. I can't play like that. You know, she said, well, don't worry about that.
I said, the girl that was on the piano at the City Auditorium, Evelyn, we can get her.
They came to my mother and asked her, would it be all right? Because I was young and they were young. And so she said, well, give me a week or two to think about it. And she thought about it and told them yes.
And so that's the way it started. And Mildred said, we got to have a group. We're going to sing that. And that's how you're going to lead it.
Evelyn Hardy, Odessa Edwards, Vera Cobb, Willie Mae Garth, and Mildred Howard originally called themselves the Gospel Harmonettes. Their first robes were military-style dresses, which symbolized the group's support for the nation's war effort. With their young group in place, the ambitious singers set out to become part of the gospel movement sweeping across the country.
We started rehearsing every day, and Evelyn worked us to death.
And my mother,
made us.
My mother used to come in and say,
Go home.
Go home.
Go home now. Everybody, this is enough for the night. So she fixed it. Okay, you know how she fixed it? She took the practice from Monday and brought it around to my house.
Yeah.
So she knew that Mama and Dad, and then the whole Smithfield would get together.
Yeah, they would.
Whenever she hit that piano, the whole community was sitting out on the ground.
They were listening.
Cheering, and they knew our practice days. Nobody had to call, and they'd come from everywhere.
But nobody had to call because we were kind of loud.
That's what I said. They could hear us.
A few months after the Harmonettes were formed, they began touring the state and their lives changed dramatically. They were so popular in Birmingham that A.G. Gaston, one of Alabama's leading entrepreneurs, hired them to sing on his weekly radio program. Throughout the early 1940s, the young women toured the South, but national recognition eluded them. However, in 1948, they were invited to appear on Talent Scouts, a national radio program run by Arthur Godfrey. Out of that engagement, the Harmonettes signed a recording contract with RCA Victor in New York in 1949. During their first session with RCA, they recorded Move On Up a Little Higher and In the Upper Room. The recordings were not very popular, and RCA canceled the group's contract. The end of World War II marked a turning point for gospel music and ushered in its golden era. You could hear thousands of gospel groups on radio, on recordings, and at concerts around the country. Social, political, and economic aspirations were high in the African American community, and the gospel group's lyrics reflected that optimism. The Harmonettes found themselves in the middle of a gospel transformation dominated by the hard-driving sound of the male quartets. Instead of one principal vocalist, most groups had several lead singers.
Most of the male groups, like the Blind Boys and all of these groups, the Soul Stirrers, the Sam Cooks, and all of them, they had 2 and 3 relief leaders. And here we are, these 5 little girls with 1 little leader. You know, I said, we've got to have we need some help. We got to be fortified. And so I managed to hear Dorothy Love Coates singing on one of the church programs one night on the radio. I said, that's just who we need.
And she called, she got on the telephone call, get this station and listen to this girl. I'll always remember what she was singing. I know prayer changes things. And I had never heard nobody do to a song what she did to that prayer. We were all impressed. And we got busy to find her. We found her.
And when all hope had seemed to fail, God's power did prevail, and that's how I know children prayer changes things.
As soon as they heard Dorothy Love Coates, they were smart enough to know this is something we don't have in gospel today. Yes, we have a Gertrude Ward. Yes, we have a Clara Ward. Yes, we have a Willie Mae Ford Smith. Yes, we have a Sally Martin. Yes, we have a Mahalia Jackson. But we don't have a singing preacher with the force and with the intensity and with the sincerity, and with the command not only of biblical stories, but of the Negro idioms.
Prayer changes things. Prayer changes things.
Something happened with me at an early age that I didn't understand, and I don't think nobody else understood either. Mama said even when I was a child that I would take the small kid, I would take the tin pans and beat on them, right, you know, and say when she take them away, and just make noises, and when she would take them away from me, I'd just have a fit.
Dorothy Love Coates was born Dorothy McGriff in Birmingham on January 30th, 1928, to Reverend William and Lillar McGriff, a stern religious couple. The McGriff home was always filled with gospel music, and the family's life revolved around nightly church services. By the time Dorothy was 10 years old, she had taught herself to play the piano and was considered a child prodigy. She was so talented that Birmingham's Hopewell Baptist Church selected her as one of their lead pianists. At the time, the working-class congregation was known for its lively Pentecostal-style worship services.
I was young, 10 years old, and they just put their arms around me and gave me a lot of love, a lot of support. When I came and brought the ideas that I had to the gospel chorus, well, the church was packed practically all the time.
Come on, children, let's shout all about God's great reward.
During Dorothy's teenage years, she idolized Mahalia Jackson and was impressed with Mahalia's sincerity and emotion. In an attempt to showcase Dorothy's blossoming talent, she helped form the Royal Gospel Singers and McGriff Singers. The members of both groups were her siblings and friends. Like the Harmonettes, the ensemble was one of the first groups to have their own live weekly radio program in Birmingham. While traveling and singing with the McGriff and Royal Gospel Singers, Dorothy's talent for writing and arranging began to unfold. Around Birmingham, she had gained a reputation as a gifted gospel music arranger.
There wasn't many people here in Birmingham doing it my way. And I always had, I had a lot of success, and I was looking for a lot of people when they would allow me to present it. But it was one of those things where, well, you know, Dorothy likes gospel, that old up-tempo, you know, beat. And a lot of them call them she loved that foot-pat music. And it was called some of everything. But it was a music that was a part of me that I just couldn't deny.
In 1950, the Harmonettes began touring the country with their new lead singer. They became the talk of the gospel circuit. With the addition of Coates, they were able to stand and sing with the best. Also in 1950, a regional talent scout referred the Harmonettes to Specialty Records based in Los Angeles. Art Roop, the owner, had managed to record some of the greatest gospel and rhythm and blues performers ever assembled. His arsenal included Sam Cooke and the Soul Stirrers, the Five Blind Boys of Alabama, Brother Joe May, the Swan Silvertones, and Alex Bradford.
Here is a man who's not a musician. He's not even an artist. He is, however, a businessman, and he had sense enough to tune his ear to what the public liked.
Roop eventually invited the Harmonettes to Los Angeles for a very important audition. The 6 young women packed their bags and headed west. They traveled to California by car and alone. During the 1950s, that was considered a dangerous undertaking for 6 black teenagers who had never been west of the Mississippi River. The trip was an adventure and one of the most exciting periods of their young lives.
Evelyn was the one that wanted us to stop everywhere. We couldn't miss nothing. We had to go by all
painted forests,
everything
everywhere.
And Grand Canyon.
That's right.
Oh, we went to. I don't think we missed not one thing going to California.
What we would
Evelyn
do, we
said,
would
no,
leave.
we just got to go.
We would leave a day ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We would have time to stop.
Yeah.
Get your kicks on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66.
The Harmonettes recorded 2 songs during their first session with Specialty Records, I'm Sealed and Just to Behold His Face. The records quickly became hits, and suddenly the 6 young women from Birmingham were gospel music superstars. A few months later, they released Dorothy's Getaway Jordan. She delivered the tune with the veracity of a sanctified preacher, filled with emotion and protest.
I can remember Getaway Jordan. And you're listening to it in the air. And she comes at you like an explosion, you know. Get away in the back, get away, Jordan. And then she go, get right back, you know. And like you sitting in your house, but everything just stopped. And that's the beginning of the song. In Getaway Jordan, she has a section she hit where she's talking about her eyes shut and her tongue's glued to the roof of her mouth and she don't have to worry. She's like, this is when she dies, right? She's talking about Jordan River. She's talking about dying. She's talking about her being all right. You don't have to worry about the way I felt because God Almighty gonna be right there. It was a preacher.
It was a kind of a pre-wrapping. Fortunately, it was enclosed within melody, but it was very effective because we had the sung part, and then the group would say, whoop, behind her, and my eyes are shut, whoop, with the accent, and she would accent the speech. And now, I don't know where Dorothy got that from. We hadn't had it before.
Art Roop was so impressed with Coates' talent and passion, he urged the group to make Dorothy the Harmonettes' lead singer. Roop placed the young women under the exclusive management of Harold Attractions, a gospel booking agency also based in Los Angeles. Under Harold's management, Dorothy was promoted as the sole leader of the Harmonettes. Her newfound stardom inspired her to begin writing and arranging most of the group's music. Surprisingly, after Getaway Jordan was released, many of the well-known white quartets began recording Dorothy's poetic arrangements and imitating her rapid delivery.
Feet get cold, eyes are shut, body been chilled by the hand of death. Tongue glued to the roof of my mouth, hands lay folded, it calls for bread. Don't have to worry about the way I fare. God Almighty done told me that it be right there. Lift me up on the wings of love.
In spite of Dorothy's rise in popularity, her life was plagued with disappointments and hardships. In fact, her difficult personal life provided the material for almost every song she would write. When Coates was only 16 years old, she married Willie Love of the famous Fairfield Four. The short marriage produced one child. During her pregnancy, she became seriously ill with pneumonia. Her unwavering faith and the medical complications associated with pneumonia provided the inspiration for one of her best-known compositions.
I was almost sick to the point of not being conscious. And Mama just stayed by my bed, praying and crying and laying her hands on me and asking God to spare my life. The fever finally broke. The doctor said that we both would live, me and the baby. And it came to me that you can't hurry God. You just have to wait. Trust him and give him time, no matter how long it takes. He's a God you can't hurry, but he'll be there. Don't worry. He may not come when you want him, but he's right on time. And that is the first song I wrote.
You can't hurry God. Oh, no, you just have to wait. You have to trust him and give him time, children, no matter how long it takes. I know he's a God you can't hurry, but he'll be there. He'll be there, don't worry. You know he may not come when you want him, when you want him, when you want him.
When Dorothy wrote a song, she just didn't write a song arbitrarily. She wrote a song for Dorothy Love Coates and the original Gospel Harmonettes, and that's why they wore them as well as a good kid glove, just matched them head to toe.
He's Right on Time became a major hit for the Harmonettes, but it was only the beginning. During the 1950s, Dorothy went on to write and arrange many songs for the group, and nearly all became major sellers. Most of her songs reflected her experiences in Birmingham and carried a message of heartache and redemption. One writer noted, there was no reason for Dorothy to sing the other blues. Her gospel contained its own blues.
Don't let him catch you with your work undone. You know he may not come when you want it, but you want it right on.
Well, of course, in the choir scene today, you hear a lot of Dorothy. You even hear phrases and lines that you can contribute directly to her. I suspect that some of these gospel writers of the day don't really realize who they are copying when they use certain lines or certain phrases or certain movements.
You can't hurry God. No, you just have to wait. You gotta trust him and give him time, no matter how long it takes. He's a God you can't hurry. He'll be there. Don't you worry. Hey, he may not come when you want it, but his own time.
She was very serious-minded, and so her songs would come out of depressions that she had suffered in growing up. And that's why they were so touching, because many people in the audience had had the same thing happen to them, you know. And so that's why she was good with her songs, because her songs indicated the life and how life in the raw is.
I think that the writing comes out of whatever condition I find that I'm surrounded with a lot of times. I can give hope and more or less guarantee it through God, because I've lived in hopeless despair and I was delivered. You see, now I can talk about depression. I can discuss oppression, because I've lived that too. I can talk about deliverance because I've been delivered.
And I want to thank you tonight. Thank you, Jesus, for your mercy. Thank you, Jesus, for every blessing. Thank you, Jesus. Down through the years, Lord, I thank you. I know you brought me. You brought me from a mighty long way. Mighty long way.
They gave me such a hard time with my gospel music and having to fight so many different things to just perform it, to just sing it. I came up with this song about there's always somebody talking about me, but really I don't mind. They try to stop and block my progress most of the time, but the mean things you say don't make me feel bad because I can't miss a friend that I've never had. I've got Jesus, and that's enough.
She is just a brilliant poet in terms of writing a song, her melodies, the organization of the song, the stories that the songs have to tell, the message in terms of what will strike your heart.
In 1957, Ray Charles rearranged Coates's That's Enough and made it a huge rhythm and blues hit. In 1979, Johnny Cash recorded an album of sacred songs titled A Believer Sings the Truth. The collection included his rendition of Dorothy's That's Enough.
Well, now I heard that you've been talking about me. Really, I don't mind. I expect criticism, and sometimes it's gonna be untrue and unkind. But the mean things you said don't make me feel bad. I won't miss a friend that I never had. I've got Jesus, and that's enough.
The Harmonettes' notoriety continued to grow, with Coates at the forefront, writing and leading songs. Throughout the 1950s, they were unquestionably one of the country's top female gospel groups. Not only were the Harmonettes known for their music, but they were also popular for their trend-setting attire and impeccable character.
The Harmonettes were unlike any other singers. When they came to a concert, these women were dressed like they were dressed by Coco Chanel. Fine suits and dresses. They behaved not only like Christians, but as intelligent, young, educated women as they were. They didn't hang out. You didn't see them going into public places and clubs and things. They were always together. They were quiet-spoken.
We were known at the time as being one of the most respected female groups on the road, because when we would finish our, whatever we had, our concerts, we weren't isolating ourselves, we were protecting ourselves and our reputations.
In 1954, the Harmonettes lost its first member due to the difficulties of life on the road and the thousands of one-night performances. Evelyn Hardy decided to leave the group and return to her teaching job in the Birmingham public school system. She recruited Herbert Pee Wee Picard to replace her as the group's pianist. Picard was only 17 years old.
I heard the Harmonettes record at a friend's house, and I told him when I first heard that record, I want to go to California and meet the Harmonettes and play for them. And he said, how you going to get there? and you don't know the Harmonettes. I didn't know they didn't live in California. All I knew was, I'm going to California and meet those people I just heard on that record.
In 1958, Odessa Edwards also decided to leave the Harmonettes and accept a teaching position in the Birmingham public school system. She had served as the group's internal manager since its inception. After Edwards left the Harmonettes, the New York Amsterdam News predicted the group would break up. All at once, the future of the group was left on the shoulders of Dorothy. Determined not to miss an engagement, she recruited her sister Lillian Caffey and a longtime friend Cleo Kennedy. Dorothy went on to marry Carl Coates of the famous Sensational Nightingales in 1959.
When I was a very small child, my mother and grandmother used to carry me downtown in Nashville to the Ryman Auditorium, which later became known as the Grand Ole Opry House, the first Friday night in every month, to what was called Wally Fowler's All Night Singing. Now, this was a program put on which featured all of the great white gospel singers of the country. And I heard songs sung by some of these artists, namely the Blackwood Brothers and others, who I later discovered were indeed songs written by Dorothy Love Coates.
She was able to put words together to fit with the musical phrases, and she was excellent with it. Such songs as Every Day Will Be Sunday, she's got a line, and then the group comes in and she says 4 lines within a space. That was a gift.
I'm an alto, and you know when she sings, she preaches, she sounds like an alto. Anybody who is an alto would think this is a heavy, low-voiced woman until you try to sing the song she's singing in the key she's singing it, and only the sopranos can do her songs.
Dorothy never had the evenness, say, of a Mahalia Jackson. She didn't have the soaring beauty of a Marion Williams or a Dolores Barry. But she had the ability to bring her feelings out and to express them to you.
And it's not so much the voice, because Dorothy Love's voice is cracked and broken, but she says so much and gives such a powerful delivery that it makes her outstanding in this particular religious music culture.
Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. Come on and go with me to the house of the Lord.
I guess my first real attraction to gospel music was when Dorothy Love Coates came to Memphis for Pentecostal Temple Church of God in Christ. And she was the first emotional, the first dancing, the first moving gospel singer that had ever graced the stage. You know, she seemed as though she had the weight of the world on her shoulder. She seemed as though she was responsible, or somehow she had to do something about all the suffering in the world at that point. And she felt through her songs that she was helping, lifting someone.
Church belongs to God, washes with Jesus' blood. It's a rescue mission for every lost soul shattered by God's love. Go to church and keep you strong. Jesus comes to carry us home. but let's be with it when it comes to the house.
If you go to a traditional Pentecostal service, about 95% of the service is going to be musically oriented as opposed to a certain period where there is a spoken. I've seen Pentecostal preachers who 3 minutes into their sermon will pick up, and Moses said, look over here. I mean, music is at the center of the lives of these people. And I think Dorothy knew that and incorporated that into her own music.
Caucasian, Negro or Hebrew, whatever your nationality is, you can come to whosoever will, whosoever will, such a let him come.
Everybody decided, because I sing, because of my moves and I dance with the music or whatever, that I am Pentecostal. The people, you're saved, aren't you? You're Pentecostal, you're one of us. Yes, I'm saved. And you're sanctified. Yes, I'm sanctified. And what is your church? Evergreen Baptist Church. And it just slays them. You come out of a Baptist church, you're Baptist denomination. I have been all my life.
Whosoever will, oh,
She was a go-getter. She was a hard hitter. She didn't just stand flat-footed and sing. She bounced all across the place and sang.
Georgia, oh, joy, shout, oh, shouting, oh, shouting in this house. He invites you, oh, yes, he does. Come on and go to the house. Oh, the Lord.
Columbia offered to give me a contract to sing rock and roll because they were saying that I was as good as Aretha and anybody else and had this soul and stuff. I told them I had to turn it down because I just didn't relate to the music for me.
The 1960s. America was deeply involved in the Vietnam War, and the civil rights movement was sweeping the country. In an attempt to keep pace with rhythm and blues, Dorothy and the Harmonettes signed recording contracts with several labels. It seemed as if she was searching for a home. Her music was still poetically strong, but now Dorothy's compositions took on the urgency and push for civil rights. Her message to African Americans was put in a very simple song that sold close to 1 million copies. Hold on to your faith and don't let go.
I'm holding on. I'm holding on and I won't let go. Now that holding on, of course, certainly has a reference to religion, but it also means in this struggle for equality, in this struggle for justice, in this struggle for recognition as another human being, I'm not going to let that go until that comes. Now this is quite extraordinary because that's exactly what the Negro spiritual was doing. It was, in a nice way, a double entendre where you're saying one thing and you're actually applying it to something else. Dorothy became a political activist through her singing, and very often when it sounds clearly like a reference to the Bible or to the religious life, there is a social aspect to this as well.
You see, I've been ostracized and criticized, but I'm holding on. The things I have to suffer bring tears to my eyes, but I'm holding on. Old Satan is busy, stirring up wrath, gathering stones to block my path. My enemies inflicting all the hurt they can, throwing their rocks and hiding their hand. When you dig one dip, you better dig two. The trap you said just may be for you. He put it in my heart. You can't change me. My soul's on fire. The world can't harm me.
It's almost a philosophical absurdity to try and separate what one is or what one believes from what one does. If she's really going to sing about the biblical story, how can one not talk about deliverance and freedom and those things that bind the human spirit?
Most of the great gospel writers will have stories behind their songs that will know that they are expressing something that has to do with how African Americans are trying to make our way in this land in spite of everything the country is sometimes putting in our way.
Many fans and industry observers believe that Dorothy Love Coates has not received the credit and royalties she rightfully deserves from the gospel music industry. This lack of compensation and recognition has made Coates a distant and very cautious woman, sometimes to the level of complete isolation.
She has contributed a world of good to the field of gospel, but she's not getting her right due. The compensation has been very small, especially during her golden period, which was the 50s.
All of this has been built up in this woman to the point that she's kind of withdrawn and she's really kind of skeptical of trusting anyone.
We didn't know about copyrighting a song before we recorded it. You understand what I'm saying? And what you don't know, people don't bother to tell you. And it was a lot of great songs produced in that area, a lot of great writers, because most of us was writing our own material. You see, so we was thinking that they were just interested in the singing and the sound in the group, but the song was basically where the financial gains were.
Despite Dorothy's career and financial disappointments, she continued to write and record music in the 1970s and 80s. But she was never able to record the big hit. So in 1990, she was encouraged to start a new career, a calling that might finally put her back in the national spotlight. Coates appeared in The Long Walk Home, a movie about the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott. The film stars Whoopi Goldberg and Sissy Spacek. Coates' voice was used to enhance one of the most dramatic and defining scenes in the movie. The producers of the 1990 blockbuster movie Ghost were persuaded by Whoopi Goldberg to include a recording by Dorothy Love Coates and the original gospel Harmonettes in the movie's soundtrack. The composition, titled No Hiding Place, was written by Coates and Evelyn Hardy in 1951. The song is about the rapture and destruction that happens at the end of the world. In 1998, Dorothy took on her greatest assignment. She appeared in and also arranged music for the feature film Beloved, a movie produced by Oprah Winfrey about the evils of slavery. The movie is based on Toni Morrison's 1993 Pulitzer Prize-winning novel Beloved. Dorothy portrays Lucille Williams, an adamant holy woman.
Welcome, my child.
In 1997, Detroit's Gospel Music Hall of Fame held its first induction ceremony to honor the memory and contributions of gospel's greatest pioneers. The first class of inductees included Thomas Dorsey, the father of gospel music, Mahalia Jackson, Rosetta Tharpe, Clara Ward, James Cleveland, Albertina Walker, and Dorothy Love Coates.
I feel highly honored to have my name associated with these great people. Highly honored.
She made a great contribution to gospel music and still making a great contribution to gospel music because we're still singing her songs.
Two men was discussing license as they stood on the racetrack. The sinner said, "My master is almighty." The Christian said, "But he's not as great as mine." He said, "You put your money on yours and I'll bet on mine. We'll let the score be kept by nature and time, and we'll see who comes out a winner at the finishing line."
The original Gospel Harmonettes are the only pioneering group from gospel's golden era with all of its founding members still living. Evelyn Hardy, Odessa Edwards, Mildred Howard, Vera Cobb, and Willie Mae Garth never left Birmingham. Dorothy Love Coates still lives a few blocks from where she grew up. Some believe the old neighborhood has kept her in touch with her roots and given Dorothy motivation to continue performing and writing. As she put it, writing about a changing world and a changing condition, writing about suffering and salvation.
What I hope to do with my life is inspire somebody else to be willing to give their life as I have given mine in the service of the Lord, to help humankind, help mankind to deal with all the things that God wanted from us. Not so much to build a legacy for Dorothy Love Coates. If a legacy came out of it, fine. But that wasn't what was intended. I'm trying to reach the souls of mankind.
We'll see who comes out a winner at the finishing line. The finishing line.
There are people who have good voices. There are a lot of performers who may have other attributes. Dorothy was a prolific writer, and I think more than any other thing, she knew the God that she sang about.
The number of songs that she has written and has been used by just about every choir around, all were songs of a testimony, talking about her life and life after this life and what one needs to do in order to get to that life, and they were very enriching.
Those of us that were blessed to hear her or to work along with her will never forget the experience. She was an inimitable experience when it comes to songwriting and delivering a song. She had it. She had it, and she still has it, I'm sure. Because gifts from God don't just fade away.
People and churches all over the country still sing her music. So just like Thomas A. Dorsey with Precious Lord Take My Hand, Dorothy's music will never die, it will live on through the churches.
I can't walk away from this gift, you see. Everything, once I tried to lay it down and say, well, I'm going to do something else, I'm going to try something else, I'm going to I've given it my best and this is it. It just doesn't work because as the Spirit has spoke to me in many different ways, in a dream, in whatever the way it comes, I say the voices keeps calling me.
Production of Still Holding On was made possible in part by a grant from the Alabama Humanities Foundation. Additional funding was provided by the Alabama State Council on the Arts.